Well, I wonder what the defining moment for this video is gonna be. I'll give you one guess. I just wanted to remind everybody that I did open up a Discord, and down in the description there is a link to it in case you wanted to join and come in there and discuss in there. Also, I don't know if it's popping up on anybody's feeds or not, but I did do a video like a week or two ago of the Blam manga, and I just wanted to invite all you guys to go watch that and keep an eye out because sometime in the next week I will be dropping the next one, which is Master Edition 2. Boy, we start this one right off inside the Troll's Den. I mean, we're just like right there. And the Troll's Den is overlapping with the Astral Realm, kind of like the Witch's House. And this one's called Quilafaluf. Quifluffalus is what we'll call it. Actually, it's Cliphoth, but I was just going to be like, oh, actually, and pronounce it, and I can't even do it. Cliphoth or Cliphoth. Clifford the big red dog. Anyway, we're in the Troll's Den, and the girls wake up. And can anyone tell me why the go-to for, you know, we're in the lair of the demons. So suddenly it's like big demon sex monkey with a line of girls, and it's just monkey sex and demon sex and consensual orgies or non-consensual orgies. Really? I think I have seen at this point like at least 4 or 5 different versions of this panel alone. And don't get me wrong, it's super upsetting to see and all of that, but is there a different way to torture people maybe? I mean, I guess we did get that one time in like the Tower of Conviction where we went with a different torture thing, but they kind of had to because outside of the Tower of Torture was the weird demon sex orgy, so you can't have a demon sex orgy outside the tower and inside the tower simultaneously, so they kinda... People are gonna hate me for this, aren't they? Anyway, I just thought it was a little redundant, and we've been here, done that. As far as Farnace and Casca are concerned, there's really not much anything to say about this. At least I don't have much to say about it, other than the fact that I literally laughed out loud when Farnace had the little, like, speech about how important this is because it's the first time that she's ever been entrusted to protect somebody weaker than herself, and I'm just like, oh. I mean, Casca's not exactly really effective right now, but I mean, this, oh yeah, if you only knew, Farnace, if you only knew. Also, real quick, this guy is apparently supposed to mean something, and I have absolutely no idea what or why, but apparently he's supposed to be important, so I thought I'd just mention that he exists. But anyway, Guts and crew find Casca and Farnace, and then they gather up all the women, and they're gonna go, and they're gonna get all of the captives out, and get them out to safety, while Guts stays behind and fights all the trolls, which surprises literally nobody at this point. And it actually feels pretty fitting. But nobody leaves before Guts can give the 2 weakest members of the group like the exact words of encouragement that they need at that second in time, which is Farnace and Isidro. And Farnace, it's like, you're a big help or something like that, or I'm grateful, I forget. And then Isidro, it's like, I gave you the job because you were up to it. It's literally like in between chapters, Guts was sitting off to the side reading self-help books or something like How to Be a Good Dad. But anyway, they're off. And for a while, everything seems to be going well. You know, their escape is going seemingly according to plan. They're getting out of the cave and everything. Guts is killing stuff as Guts does. When suddenly the female god hand chick uses the entrails of the dead trolls to build herself a new body. And of course, Shirka can sense that there's something creepy down within the depths of Cliphoth. And we find out that Cliphoth is actually this domain, the realm of the female god hand chick, which makes sense, actually. And it's like her region or realm or portion of the astral plane. and she can be here because the astral plane and reality are overlapping here in particular, but also there's like this ultimate merger that's happening due to the fact that Cliphoth has been reborn, and he's going to usher in the age of darkness, and he's going to slowly merge the realms and make it possible for these people that could not travel back and forth between the two to be able to travel back and forth between the two. We're not there yet, but it's like the beginnings of that era, you know, we're in the beginnings of this happening, and all that shit. And Gus pretty much gets strung up like immediately. Like, you're just like, oh, like, he goes from like one page being like, you know, standing there ready to fight, and the next page he's literally just like hanging, stripped naked, not naked, but you know, like armor stripped off. You're like, well, when did that happen? You know, like, that happened awfully quickly, and she's all excited talking about being penetrated by his big thick thing, and I'm not so sure she's talking about that sword he's carrying. I mean, she might be talking about his sword, but maybe not his sword. Or is she talking about his sword? But anyway, this is when Skull Knight shows up. Is anybody surprised to see Skull Knight? Of course not. But the ogres attack Skull Knight. Like a whole bunch of ogres, like a ton of them, attack Skull Knight. And let me tell you, these things, if I made a joke about their character design in the last video, they look a lot more disturbing when you put a bunch of them on the panel together, like side by side. Not so sure about those ogres. But anyway, Skull Knight goes to town on the ogres, and Guts uses the exact same tactic that he used the last time he was face to face with a naked female demon. Like, literally. Oh, you might as well be able to just swap the panels out.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Although it is a little bit different, because he does immediately after then stab her with his sword, or penetrate her with his big thick thing. Which I'm not so sure that's exactly what she meant. Although it might have been, because she really seems to be enjoying this a whole lot more than you think somebody who just got stabbed through the whatever should be enjoying it. But that's, you know, to each her own. But we do get a real quick section here of Skull Knight commenting that Guts' sword can kill her because it has been honed. I forget the exact words he uses. Because it has been tempered with the malice and the dead, I think. Anyway, jumping back over to the other people really fast. They're still trying to get out of the ogre's lair in the cave and everything when the rotting tree lord attacks them, and it basically looks like Cthulhu, but Chirka's going to cast a spell, and she's going to take out the Cthulhu tree root monster thing. I only really jump over to these people because I kind of stopped talking about them for a minute while I was over there with Guts and Skull Knight, and they've kind of been doing stuff in the background, but nothing really important. And the only reason I jump over here is because, you know, they're just going to be fighting root monsters and stuff when Skull Knight and Guts just casually walk out like, hey, what's up? And how did they do that? Well, Skull Knight brought out the Sword of Actuation, and this is a sword that he has made within his body from the material of refined behelots that he carries inside of himself by eating them. Then he uses this sword to cut a hole in space and time so that they can travel through it, which all ends in this completely ridiculous panel of Skull Knight just holding up the sword, and he's like, it's the power of this sword. And he's all in shadow and dramatic looking. Is it just me, or is Skull Knight literally just by far the most ridiculous character in the entire manga? Pretty much everything he says and does is just hilarious. And I don't think it's supposed to be. This is why I call him cartoonish sometimes. Like, he's by far and away one of the most entertaining things in the entire manga. This is why I said, like, a video or two ago that he's becoming one of my favorite characters, period. But that doesn't change the fact that it's so ridiculous. Like, he can hold up a sword and be like, it's the power of the sword. And I'm laughing because it's so freaking ridiculous and over the top that it's just funny. And I'm not sure if it's supposed to be funny. I think it's supposed to be taken seriously. I can't tell. If for any reason Skull Knight's character and the things that he does and says are supposed to be taken seriously, it is very much so lost on me. The presentation just missed the mark on that one. But if he is supposed to just be outlandish and hilarious and ridiculous and just entertaining when he's on screen, boy, he succeeds in spades. But anyway, so Skull Knight and Guts walk out and the group meets up and we turn the page and we're back at town and we're celebrating our victory. It's literally that fast. I mean, you go from in the depths of the darkness to flip the page and we're back at town celebrating, and it's just like, that was it? Like, oh, it's over. Like, oh, okay, so I guess it's over and I guess we're back at home and we're gonna all hug and we're gonna and let's be honest, that section wasn't great. Now do not get me wrong, it definitely wasn't bad, but it also definitely wasn't great. I think it achieved what it set out to achieve. I think it conveyed the information that it was supposed to convey. But the whole scene, from the time they went down into the troll's den to the time they're literally back in town hugging because job well done, the whole scene felt rushed. And the tension's just never really there. Seriously, like, one page the chick shows up. Next page, Guts is strung up and naked. Page after that, chick's got a hole in her because Guts blew his cannon in her stomach. Page after that, he stabs her with the sword, she's dead. Page after that, Skull's cut a hole in space-time, we're back with the group. Page after that, job well done. It was like, literally like 8 pages. You're like, well, that was, like, it was rushed and just a complete and utter lack of any stakes or tension whatsoever. Like I said, it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't great. I feel like that section in particular could have been a lot better. But it does end on a nice note of the companions. This big spread of him realizing that he has companions again. And it compares his new companions to his old companions. And we get to see the old band and Judo and Pippin and everybody. And no, I'm not even gonna lie, they show the 2 spreads, like one page is his old friends and one page is his new friends, and I'm not even gonna lie, seeing the page of the old friends hit me a whole lot harder than seeing the page of the new friends. And I feel like this spread would have been much better, as great as this little character beat was for Guts, and I feel like it's truly earned as a whole. I feel like it would have been more impactful if it came after a slightly better section. Like, if this would have been like after that my high of the town, then like a panel like this, I would have been like, yeah, like screaming from. But it came after this, like the town was just the greatest thing ever, and then we go to the troll's den and it's kind of like ends with a whimper, and then we get the big companion scene. I don't know. It was good. It just wasn't as good as it should have been. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, we're going to move on. And spoiler alert, if the last section left a lot to be desired, this next section does not. But we immediately start with the old lady and Skull Knight having a conversation, and she's etching her talisman into a set of armor. To which Skull Knight says, "There is no way you're unaware of how dangerous this thing is." Like, immediately I get excited because we all know what this is, right? And I do pretty much anything and everything in my power to avoid spoilers at all costs, no matter what. I'm a real stickler for avoiding spoilers. But come on now, we've all seen the Berserker armor. The second I see it in the background, I'm like, you know, like I'm pretty stoked. I'm ready for this one. But anyway, the demons show up, and over at the gang, Guts collapses because he's got wounds in his ethereal body. He took on a god hand, is what that boils down to. But this is also when Shirka realizes what that strong force was in the cave, and she realizes that it was a god hand and not just some, like, normal demon. But we don't have time for that because we show up, and the house is on fire. And this panel actually hits pretty hard. I'm not even gonna lie. But Guts goes immediately into killing all the demons, and he's surprised to see Skull Knight, which I'm not sure why. At this point, I don't know why he's ever surprised to see Skull Knight for any reason at any time. I know I've stopped being surprised. When the giant Naga guy, Grundbeld, I think is his name, shows up with Zod. And Grundbeld and Guts are gonna fight, which means that Zod and Skull Knight are gonna fight. And I mean, woo! I got super excited. I probably shouldn't have, but I did. But anyway, back at the house, the old lady sends a psychic message over to Shirka and says, get that to Guts. And it's like a shot of the Berserker armor. We do get a quick scene of Shirka and the witch talking and kind of Shirka attempting to come to terms with the fact that the old lady's passing. Her time has pretty much come. And the Naga guy, Grundbeld, refers to his group of demons as the Band of the Hawk. And Guts takes that about as well as you would expect Guts to. And to be quite honest, it hits the reader pretty hard as well because we, or at least me, have strong feelings and there's a lot of sentimental value attached to the Band of the Hawk for us as well because we fell in love with the Band of the Hawk. Not necessarily because it was the Band of the Hawk, but we fell in love with the people that were in the band at that point in time. But anyway, the fight definitely is not going well for Guts when suddenly the mud golems attack and like show up and start just attacking all the demons, especially Grundbeld, and creates a distraction basically for Guts. When he's told to get his ass to, I don't know, looks like a little hole under a tree with some roots covering it or something. You know, where everyone else is. And Guts goes down there and he falls down. He's pretty messed up. And oh no, Guts is hurt. And oh no, if we put the Berserker armor on him at this point, it'll just make it worse. And oh my goodness. And I joke. But to be quite honest, at this second in time in the manga, the tension is really high. It's actually like really maxed out. That last section where I was like, oh, the tension was never really there. Yeah, the tension's here in this one. Like for real. Also, I love the fact that the Berserker armor, the helmet, is a skull because the previous owner of this armor was Skull Knight. And of course, the reveal of Guts in the armor is just as wonderful as you would hope that it would be. And now we get, like I said, the reveal, but also we get the fusion of the armor with Guts. And it's going to fuse with him and seemingly take over, but it also like finds his inner darkness and merges with that, you know, his like inner monster demon darkness thing, that thing that at one point in time I called it the cute little doggy, although right now he's not really cute. And then as the armor's like fusing with him and everything that is him and his energy and his darkness, it literally transforms then to reflect outside what's on the inside, if that makes sense. But yeah, it literally transforms basically to reflect its new owner, which is Guts. And that whole scene is just amazing. The new design is amazing. I might actually like the skull mask a little bit better, but it's much more fitting the way it is. So and the scene in and of itself is just glorious. Anyway, and now Guts goes berserk. And the first thing he does is fires his cannon. If I had a list of things that I was curious about, you know, having seen the Berserker armor, does he still have a cannon? Would have been almost at the top of the list of things I was super curious to know. So the fact that he just uses it, like, first off, I was like, oh, awesome. Like, I really wanted to know, does his cannon still work with the new Berserker armor? And spoiler alert, yes, it does. But we also learn really quickly that the armor isn't even helping him. Like, not even a little. Like, you think it is, but it's actually all it's done is take away all of his pain and give him the ability to go past what his body will allow him to do normally. So in doing that, that's not a good thing. Like, in doing that, all he's doing is destroying himself when he does it. So he's literally snapping all of his bones, and the armor's just kind of forcing them back together and holding him together as he literally shatters his body inside of it to be able to move as quickly and hit as hard as he is. Although he totally takes out Grundbeld in like one hit, like chops the in half. I mean, to which, of course, Grunbeld immediately saw, oh shit, this isn't good. And he transforms into his upgraded form, which is what we expect at this point from a Berserk fight. But his second form is like this massive dragon thing. But anyway, this is getting a little crazy at this point. Guts is breaking his own bones while he fights. The little old lady tells Shirka that Guts is lost in there and she needs to go find him and bring him back. So at this point, Shirka's going to go and dive inside of Guts's mind, basically, and she's going to get to see the form of his rage, the little doggy. And on her way down, she's going to get to see a bunch of memories and scenes from his past and his life, but she goes all the way down to find out that there's this little flicker of a flame, which is Guts' ego, and it is the little piece of him that's being protected by the talisman from being snuffed out entirely, basically, and consumed entirely by his own malice and rage. Everything at this point seems pretty hopeless also, until right as Casca's getting ready to be attacked by demons, Shirka reminds Guts that he is the protector of Casca. And between seeing her in danger and hearing that his real job isn't revenge, his real job is to protect Casca. This is important both for him and for us, storytelling wise, because it's the duality, it's the draw, it's the struggle that he's with among all of his other struggles. Arguably, his biggest one is my true purpose getting revenge on Cliphoth, or is it just to protect this woman? And ultimately, snaps him out of it, and he goes over and he protects Casca, and basically snatches her up and just runs away. Runs away and lives to fight another day. But when he goes and he grabs her and he protects her, they do pause just long enough for Guts to open up the helmet. And there's the big reveal of Guts coming back to himself after going Berserk for the first time in the Berserker armor. And you see just how much of a toll all of this has taken on him. He's losing color in his hair. He just looks, it's almost like a whole new Guts has emerged from this armor. And maybe not for the better. Or maybe for the better. We'll see. Time will tell. And let me tell you, that was tense. That whole scene was tense. I was on the edge of my seat reading that shit. It was so good. I loved it. I mean, it was great. Also, did anyone notice that we did not get to see Zod and Skull Knight fight? Like, I was so up here. I was so stoked. I was so excited for that part of the fight. Like Guts flashing between Guts fighting and Zod fighting and the Skull Knight. And nope. They're going to have to give this to me, or, I'll never forgive this manga if it doesn't at least give me some form, damn it, of Skull Knight fighting Zod. As great as that section was, they let me down. Let me down on the Zod fight. But seriously, that section was absolutely phenomenal. Oh my God, it was good. Like, wow, was that good. Anyway, moving on to the next section, which I probably coulda, shoulda, woulda not read the next section. I probably could have stopped right there and been done with it, but my dumb ass reads the titles and stuff, and I realized that what's it called? The Holy Evil War chapter ends in a couple chapters. So I was like, oh, just go to that. It was kind of a slog to get to the end. Not that there's anything wrong with this next section, just I probably could have ended there, but my dumbass decided to go all the way to the end of the Holy Evil War chapter. Anyway, we're back at Wyndham, and you remember that guy that I said from 6 videos ago that I think this guy, I saw him, I said, he just looks like he's going to be important? And I feel like this guy is going to be important at some point for some reason, but I don't really know why. Yeah, he's back, and he's not important. He's kind of like the guy for over-the-top reactions for about 5 pages, and then he's gone again. But anyway, he introduces us to the fact that the city is now under the command of the Cushion King, and the Cushion King is actually a demon. So he's like a demon king. And he wants the princess, who's actually still locked up in a tower somewhere, believe it or not. And she's still harping over Cliphoth, believe it or not, which actually that's pretty believable. That's pretty much what her character has been set up to be. which is actually pretty awful and pretty sad and pretty tragic in general, considering that her whole life she's either lived in isolation or manipulation or abuse, and now she's obsessed with and in love with a lie. And it just makes me sad for her in general, and I'm really not looking forward to where her character is going to go in the future. I mean, from a storytelling perspective, I'm sure it'll be fine. But like from an emotional perspective, I'm not looking forward to it. This particular character's story is super tragic and sad, and I'm just yuck. But anyway, Griffith's demons attack the city, and they go do battle with the king's demons in the city. So it's a demon battle of the city with the demons fighting the demons, and the demon city battle, city king, demon god versus demon king versus demon. I wonder if this is the holy evil war, or at least the start of it, maybe. I don't know. Because it's like, as soon as this scene's over, the holy evil war chapter is over. So was that the holy evil war? We shall see, because I don't know what happens next. Anyway, while all the demons are fighting all the demons, Eyeliner Guy runs into the guy with the cool character design. I really do put effort into learning people's names in this, I promise. But anyway, Eyeliner Guy chases the cool character design guy through the town. And they end up in the room where the Demon King is manufacturing more demons. And the way that he's doing so is just awful. I don't even want to attempt to describe it on YouTube. But if you've seen it or read it, you know what I'm talking about. And it's just pretty awful, what's going on over here on this side of town. And clearly Eyeliner Guy wasn't aware or privy to this information, because he's not happy when he sees it. And there really is a pretty decent battle scene that happens right here. But all in all, and truth be told, it's really just a big distraction. They're running distractions so that Griffith can break in with Zod, and they're going to snatch the princess basically right out of the roof. And the Holy Evil War chapter ends with them flying off into the night. And next time on Berserk, Falconia. But this is the section about what I was talking about when I said I'm not looking forward to what happens to the princess in the future and how they're going to move forward with the princess from here. Because this is it. I mean, after everything that poor girl has been through, this is what she's now reduced to. She's now basically been reduced to a pawn in these big demon guys' dick measuring contest. And that's just not fair to her as a person. It sounds so silly to say, but it's true. Which, of course, is what she would be. I mean, that's what the princess would be in this situation. It just sucks. And I'm really not looking, especially now that she's in the clutches of Griffith. Because, you know, Griffith's lying and manipulative ass is going to frame this to her as he's some type of savior figure, which just isn't true. And she's going to eat it up, hook, line, and sinker. And we're going to see where this goes, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I'm not looking forward to this poor princess being back with Griffith. And she'll think it's a good thing. That's the worst part. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this whole section an 8.5. And that's a step down from last week, because last week's, let's be honest, was a better read. It's just wasn't as good as the chunk that I read last week. And I think it's going to come back down to the quality of the consistency. It just wasn't consistently great like the last chunk was. The whole thing was good, and there were great parts, but the whole thing just wasn't consistently great like the last section was. That Berserker section, holy shit, was that good. This last section, as far as storytelling and world building and rounding out what's going on in the world that isn't Guts and his party and stuff, that was good, actually. I guess my biggest problem would be with the first chunk, because it was just such a lackluster way to end that. I thought that section was weak. Either way, it was good. All of it was good. But it just wasn't, the consistency is sometimes erratic And when you're reading it, like it'll be great, 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 and then it'll dip real hard just to go back to being great. And you're like, it's like these stutters in the quality of the consistency is what I'm going to call this. And the pacing, because some parts of it felt really rushed, and other times parts of it will feel like it slows down, almost drags. I wouldn't actually say any of this drags, but it slows down enough to the point where it's really on the verge of dragging. And then other sections literally go through in a page or two, and those get seriously rushed. So the pacing is not super wonderful in this section. This is actually a gripe that I've had previously with the, what was that, the conviction arc? I don't fucking remember. It doesn't matter. 8.5. That's what it is. That's what it will always forever be. Remember that when I come back and I change it in the future. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.